You know what you ought to do?
What's that?
You ought to grow the hair out. And take it to a new level.
Hey everybody, welcome back in the shed. I'm Troy. This is Dave.
Greetings.
Today we're talking about the top 3 nature songs, or songs about nature. But before we get started, I want you to leave your picks below, see if they match ours. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. So you came up with this topic at the last minute when we were kind of deciding on what we were going to record.
I was in the shed and I was looking outside and it was a freaking beautiful day, and I was listening to the cardinals in my bush over here chirping and saw a hawk flying overhead, and I was like, man, isn't nature wonderful?
Yeah, it is wonderful.
Especially in the springtime.
It's beautiful right now. The trees are starting to blossom and the grass is starting to grow, and we got to mow the grass every freaking week. When you first came up with the topic, I was like, nature songs? Like, what the hell? What are nature songs? Then I've, of course, I've Googled it and found some good picks. And what's your number 3?
Number 3 is going to be Joni Mitchell, Big Yellow Taxi. The song was written, of course, and recorded by Joni in 1970. She was inspired to write that song because she was in Hawaii, one of your favorite places.
I love Hawaii.
And she was staying in a nice hotel, and she's looking out on the balcony at all the lush surroundings and everything, and then, she looked down and she saw a parking lot.
Yeah.
They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.
But it's most definitely like an environmental and preservation song, Paved paradise and you put it in a parking lot.
One of the greatest lyrics ever.
Yeah. Well, Joni was one of the best lyricists ever. Another lament that she has in that song is that they took all the trees and they put them in a tree museum.
Yeah.
And they charged the people $1.50 just to see them.
They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum. And they charged the people $1.50 just to...
Of course, we're not really there, but,
Not yet.
Not yet. But it's, one of Joni's best known, best loved songs, really from her early era. It's a catchy song. I mean, I don't know what it went on the charts, but everyone pretty much knows that song.
Please don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
I read that it was actually used in an episode of Friends in like 1995, but that's my numero tres.
My number 3 is the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
All right.
Picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies.
So it was on their 8th studio album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Came out in 1967, and that album, I didn't even realize, it sold 32 million copies.
On many lists, they put that album as the Beatles' greatest album. In my book, I don't think it makes my top 5.
Really?
No, I kind of got, it was very different, and the studio production on it was incredible, and it was one of those albums that everyone looked at and just said, helicopter. But it's one of those albums that everybody looked at and just said, this is so groundbreaking, so revolutionary, and I get why a lot of people put it at number 1, but Revolver, Rubber Soul, White Album, Abbey Road's my favorite.
Why even try to rank Beatles albums?
Well,
man?
a lot of people do.
They're also great.
Yeah, they are great. But how's that really? How do you get the nature part out of that?
The sky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the sky.
Not dropping LSD.
Well, you could drop LSD too and probably see a lot more nature things going on.
Well, that's true.
Cellophane flowers of yellow and green, towering over your head.
So John Lennon actually came up with the idea for the song because his son brought back, I guess, some artwork that he had been doing at school.
This would be Julian, obviously.
Yeah, and it was a little girl, Lucy in the Sky, and with diamonds drawn around. And he named it Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And that gave John Lennon the idea to write a song called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
So the lyrics are largely derived from Alice in Wonderland. You know, he took the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds as sort of the chorus, but the inspiration for the song was from Alice in Wonderland.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
But a lot of people back in the day thought Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was LSD.
Yeah.
And that he got the idea for the song by tripping on LSD or
Right,
something.
right.
But
Well, that was one of the
Yeah.
common, mistakes or misnomers or whatever. But
because they were all tripping, they were all doing all kinds of drugs
everybody
back then.
was doing it back then. But of course, I think he was probably doing it too. As William Shatner when he covered that.
Somebody calls you, you answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
Elton John also covered it too.
Oh, yeah.
And what's crazy is the Elton John version of that song sold more as the single.
I think it went to number 1.
Yeah, it was actually more popular than the Beatles version of that song.
Sure.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
In the 90s, there was this cartoon called Eek the Cat. You probably don't remember it. You weren't watching cartoons at that time. I used to work at a TV station, Fox 44.
I was probably still watching Looney Tunes.
Well, so in the mid-90s, I was working at a TV station, and the afternoon from 3 to 5, it was like Power Rangers
Oh, yeah.
and Eek the Cat and some other, kid shows.
Well, my son John then probably watched it because he was big time in the Power Rangers.
I watched it because I was master control, and I would run the TV shows and run the commercials. And I remember an episode with that song, but I looked, man, and I could not find it. I looked at the list of every episode of Eek the Cat and what it was about and all the songs they used. I mean, I think it's my
But
own.
they couldn't have licensed it because the Beatles didn't license any of their songs back then. Was it a re-recorded version of it?
You know what? I think it is. I think it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a Mandela version.
Yeah.
It was my own personal Mandela version.
Right.
I saw something that reminded me of that song, and I cannot find it. So if anybody out there ever saw Eek the Cat and had Lucy in the Sky with the Diamonds on one of the episodes, please comment below. Otherwise, I'm going crazy.
Yes.
That's my number 3. What's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is going to be The Trees by Rush.
Is that song about trees?
Not really.
Not really.
It came out on the 1978 album Hemispheres, and as I've said before, it might be my favorite Rush album. But it's a really great song. It starts out with, Alex Lifeson playing this intro on classical guitar. So it's got this really beautiful beginning to it. But, of course, Neil Peart wrote the lyrics. Neil used the trees as a metaphor for inequality. Do you know the song?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to hear it.
It's a pretty classic Rush song.
I know a lot of songs, but I don't know the names of the songs. Like if you said, "Hey, name some songs off a Black Sabbath album," I probably couldn't name the songs, but of course I know all the songs.
Well, the name The Trees is in the first line of the song.
Okay.
There is unrest in the forest, there is trouble with the trees. For the maples want more sunlight, and the oaks ignore their pleas.
But like I said, it's about, this kind of metaphor that Neil came up with where, you know, you have the forest, there's unrest in the forest, there's trouble with the trees because, you know, the oaks are so lofty and the maples can't get any sun, so they're kept in the shade.
They wonder why the maples can be happy in their shade.
But, you know, when I was in high school, when that album came out, I loved my English classes. And I soon realized that that hemisphere of my brain was, you know, far more efficient than the math side.
Well, my brain is inefficient in both. How about that?
Well, it was one of those songs that, you know, I could really get at the time. Maybe by today, I would say it's probably a little more contrite, but it was still a very cool song that Neil came up with about, you know, using this tree metaphor to equate it to, you know, like I said, inequality.
The oaks can help their feelings if they like the way they're made.
So it's, you know, it's a song about leveling the playing field and creating equality through unionization, as exemplified in the lyrics. And the trees are all kept equal by hatchet, axe, and saw.
And the trees are all kept equal by hatchet, axe, and saw.
It's a great Rush song, and it speaks of nature and other things. But that's my number 2.
So my number 2 is Creedence Clearwater Revival, Green River.
Take me back down a cool water yard.
So it was released as a single in 1969, about a month before the album came out, which was also called Green River.
Walking along a river road and barefoot girl dancing in the moonlight.
So it peaked at number 2, and what's funny is the song that kept it out of the number 1 spot was the Archies, Sugar Sugar.
Ah, sugar. Oh, honey, honey.
But another one of those, you know, bubblegum songs like we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. What's really incredible is that album is the second album of 3 albums they put out that same year.
It is incredible. And we've talked about it many times, how prolific all these bands were, but that's really a feat.
Yeah, because CCR's got so many great songs, man. I mean, I don't know any bad songs, really.
No, I don't either.
Fly big and fly kiss back to mother. Give up the fast off, give it across Green River.
So the song is based off of a childhood vacation spot that he would go to, and he sort of nicknamed the river Green River. It wasn't the name of the river. He sort of
Maybe it's like the rivers around here in Texas. They're all green.
yeah, exactly. But he actually got the name Green River from a drink, and it was called Green River. So he sort of took the name of that drink and came up with the song, and sort of, you know, took the inspiration from his childhood vacation spot and named it Green River.
Probably have Midori in it.
What's that?
It's a green liqueur.
That was a soda pop, I think. He was a kid. He was a kid. Yeah, he was actually talking about the Puda Creek in Winters, California. I guess that's where he vacationed as a kid. But he wanted the song to have more of a Louisiana
Most definitely.
feel to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And vibe to the song.
That's the thing about CCR. Everybody thought they were from Louisiana.
I know, yeah, it's crazy.
But they
Yeah.
weren't.
And you know what's funny about CCR is, if I knew myself from outside, like, I would never imagine that I would like CCR, because they're kind of country, and he's got that little bit of twang to his voice. But man, I love CCR. They're one of my favorite bands. I mean, I would probably put them in top 20 of my
Yeah,
favorite bands of
yeah,
all time.
Come on, the Green River.
And I love
And
Green
they didn't
River.
have a long career either. I mean, it was really just.
They didn't have a long career, but man, they put out a lot of
They
great
did.
songs.
They cranked out. They were hit machines.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's my number 2. Is that number 2?
Dose.
Number 2. What's your number 1?
My number 1 song is Mother Nature's Son by the Beatles.
Born a poor young country boy.
The song came out on the 1968 album, commonly referred to as the White Album.
Sit beside a mountain stream.
But Paul wrote the song after he was inspired by the Maharishi when the Beatles took their famous trip to India.
Swaying daisies, sing a lazy song beneath.
But it's one of those songs that Paul wrote and sang and played guitar, and John's not even on the song. It's basically an acoustic song.
Mother Nature's son.
As I was saying earlier, but I think the White Album really is in like my top 4 Beatles albums of all time because it's a double album and it's really diverse. It has everything from their hardest rockin' stuff to songs like Mother Nature's Son. But it's another song that's been covered many times. Jack White performed the song at the White House when Paul was given the Gershwin Award.
Born a poor young country boy, Mother Nature's son.
John Denver covered the song on his seminal Rocky Mountain High album.
Man, if we wanted to get into some really nature songs, every song would be a John Denver song, you know?
All day long I'm singing songs for everyone.
Harry Nilsson covered it.
Listen to the pretty sound of music as you fly.
Sheryl Crow did it on that I Am Sam soundtrack. Remember that movie? Mm-mm. It was a good movie. Even Danger Mouse sampled it.
Now the teachers couldn't reach me and my mama couldn't beat me hard enough to match the pain of my pop not seeing me, so.
If you know who he is.
I've heard of him. Is he a DJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he wear some kind of like face covering of some kind?
He has the mouse thing going on.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my number 1. So what you got, Troy?
My number 1 is, and I'm surprised it didn't make your list, but it is Led Zeppelin and Misty Mountain Hop. It came out on their 1971 album 4. It was actually the B-side to Black Dog.
Really? As a single?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I really don't know what time it was.
So the most common interpretation of the song's title involves a reference to the Misty Mountain in J.A.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit.
Sure.
The lyrics actually refer to events that happened at a legalized pot rally in July of 1968 in Hyde Park, London, in which police made arrests for marijuana possession.
I know that it's all a state of mind. Ooh.
Rolling Stone ranked this song at number 10 of the best Led Zeppelin songs of all time.
Nah, I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. But it's a great song. I love it. I love that riff, you know. Bow, down, 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 down. When I was in high school, I had a band in high school, and we kind of played that song the best we could. There was no comparison, and I couldn't sing like.
It is a cool Jimmy Page riff, and
Yeah.
it is a really different song. Of course, Led Zeppelin 4 is, arguably one of the greatest albums of all time, and all the songs were different, and you know, of course, I love that album, but it's not one of the top 3 best-known songs
There's
off that
so
album.
many great songs by Led Zeppelin. I mean, just like the Beatles, man. You know, they got so many songs, and how do you even rank them? You know,
Yeah,
it's almost impossible.
Yeah,
but
it is.
anyway, Misty Mountain Hawk by Led Zeppelin is my number 1. Leave your picks below. Let us know what they are. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and get some merch. We got a link below. And we'll see you next time in the shed.
And comment.
Comment too.